Welcome back to Community Storytelling. I'm Lissa Kreisler. So glad to have you with us here at KCAT TV. Linda Lester, I love you. I always have to mention Linda Lester and Lester Square, as they are our proud sponsors. I hope they're proud at least. And Jayco's Art House for these wonderful, wonderful pictures behind us. Pictures wouldn't be the right word. Go to their art house in Los Gatos, see what they have. And I'm sitting next to my friend, Mary Curtis. I'm thinking the only thing missing is a cup of coffee. Yeah. Last time we were together, we each had coffee and fruit, I think.
I think that's right.
Eating healthy for a change.
Pretty much want to.
Oh my gosh, we go back so far to your days with Pacifico. How many years ago? What do you think?
Well, I started the company in and operated it successfully for well over 25 years. And in fact, it still exists as a consultancy, but once upon a time, we had a whole lot of people running around our halls doing some pretty fabulous work.
Fabulous PR work and marketing and dreaming.
And positioning and branding.
Yes.
And coming to you for voices.
Yes. Can we do an interview, Lisa, and all that fun stuff?
That's right.
Yes, we go way back. And I always say, I'm so excited that we're still here.
Beats the alternative.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, I mean, then what came next after Pacifico?
Well,
raising two daughters.
Raising two daughters came current with Pacifico, and my life really changed when my first husband passed away. And I sort of said, I'm going to give myself 5 years to reinvent because everything is going to change. And
boy, did it. And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So Los Gatos, how many years have you lived here?
Since 1980.
Okay, so 38 years. Where were you before this?
I'm a Chicago native.
I remember that. Yeah. And what brought you to Los Gatos?
My late husband was an engineer, and so we just came kind of right out of college. And it was meant to be. Within a week of getting to California, I had a job, and I was off and running.
What was your first job?
It was in motion picture production, corporate.
Where? Here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know we did that here. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? And did you buy the house that you're still living in?
We bought the house, and we said, we'll probably make a few changes, and along the way, 10 years later, we said, no, the front door's in the wrong place, and we really want to make the kitchen completely different form factor, so we scraped the thing and built a whole new house.
And you're in it today?
And I'm in it today, and I've remodeled it several times since then.
And how cool was it for your daughters? Do they ever say, Mom, I'm so glad we lived in the same house forever?
Let's put it this way, I'm not allowed to sell the house.
Oh. And how are they going to split the house? Are they going to live together?
No.
No. I always wonder, okay, what do they think is going to happen? Somebody's going to have to live in the house, and they're not both going to live in the house.
I can tell you have two daughters.
Yes, I do. And they both want everything I own. So I said, you know what, I picked a friend, and Anna, and I said, you're going to have to deal with it. I mean, I have the trust in the will, but little personal stuff, I said, you can deal with that.
Oh, nice.
So you haven't done that yet.
Not like that. No, that's way too organized.
And did your daughter get married in your house?
No.
All right.
No.
I thought maybe she did.
She got married in Los Gatos, but at Nestledown.
Oh, what a beautiful place.
It is gorgeous.
But that was probably almost like being in your house.
No.
No? All right. So what came next? The girls are growing up. After Pacifica, because you've been doing other things. Your late husband, I think you took over his company.
I'm still running his company.
Which is?
It's called On-Chip Systems. It was formerly Curtis Electromusic. He's pretty well known in the music industry. All that rock and roll that you listened to in the 80s was produced on electronic music synthesizers. And he made the mixed signal integrated circuits that shaped the sounds that came out of those synthesizers, and sold to every major manufacturer in the world except for Casio and Yamaha.
Wow.
So some years ago I got word that a guy had decided that since the patents had run out, he was going to crack open the Curtis chips and copy them all. And I couldn't do anything because the patents had run out, but I did run around and make sure that I had the trademarks locked up on everything Curtis Electromusic, all the product numbers. And then I manufactured the most popular of the chips myself and reissued it to the marketplace. So I figure if he wants to, you know, in some way move into the
Your
legacy,
world, yeah.
he's at least going to have a good run for his money from me. And there will always be people who will buy less expensive products, and he wants to price undercut. But there will also always be people who value that extremely wonderful, rich analog sound that our chips produce.
Good for you. But I would expect you to do that. Good for you.
You know what? Don't mess.
Yeah,
Right.
don't mess with Mary Curtis. I know that. We all know that who know you. Yeah. You're a tough cookie. You're what my mom would say. You are a pussycat, but you're a tough cookie in the business world. And you know what's right. You know right from wrong.
That's it. It's ethics, really.
Yeah, and you've got them. You've got them. And you're an author.
I'm an author.
I have your first book.
Well,
Signed, autographed, I might add.
Good. Well, I just brought out my second book, so you have some catching up to do.
Well, let's start over, because your first book was poetry.
Yeah.
Or is poetry, because the book is still around. Title of the book?
Title of the book is Between Rooms.
And what did that mean?
Well, Between Rooms was one of the poems in the book, and I wrote it when I was remodeling the kitchen. But what it really was about change. And the book, the arc of that book is really a grief to love story.
After your husband died, you did this.
Yeah, I did it quite a few years, probably 2016, so it would have been 6 years afterwards.
How many years were you married?
Well, we were married 25, but we had been together 35.
Wow, tough.
Yeah.
Tough for you and the girls. Yeah. It sort of mirrors my life a little bit with the 2 daughters and losing the husband and starting over. Mm-hmm. But there's so much grief that goes on before you can start over.
That's right.
And what's the second book called?
The second book is called The White Tree Quartet. And I did not intend to write it. I was working on something else that I, hope to publish. And along came this crazy, wonderful trip to the Amazon, and I got fascinated, wrote a little poem cycle, and thought, okay, good, I'm done. And then I got home, and sometime later, I was planning my daughter's wedding, and it was a very, my son-in-law is Persian, and so I had to deal with a lot of cultural differences. Sure. And kind of work through that in having the wedding be comfortable for all the different cultures who would be assembling.
And how nice of you to do that.
Well, thank you.
But that's a Mary Curtis thing.
And then, so let me go on. So then I wrote that poem cycle, and I thought, okay, there's another one. And then I have a dear friend who is a Holocaust survivor, and I've always wanted to write about her. And I finally did, and my husband, Michael, said, well, you need to think about this. And so that started me thinking about that. And suddenly I had another poem cycle. And then the last thing that happened, this is how we get to the quartet, is that my younger daughter said, Mom, you always say the dogs can't tell their stories, so why don't you tell their stories? Boom. I had another poem cycle. So now I have my 4 poem cycles, and I look at them and I think, oh my God, I'm writing about otherness. I'm writing in my own kind of I'm not a confrontational, pugilistic kind of writer. I'm pretty gentle. But in my own gentle way, I'm writing about otherness and how we all accommodate our differences or don't. And so I had called the one poem cycle White Tree Blessings because NPR ran a beautiful story about this phenomenon around redwood trees, which was thought to be a fungus that turned the needles of the trees white.
Yeah.
And what it turns out is that it's a special kind of growth, not a fungus, and I'd have to look up the science of this, but what those little things are doing is they're absorbing toxins from the ground around the trees. And UC Davis so they're purifying and keeping the mother tree alive. UC Davis is conducting quite a bit of study on this in the Santa Cruz Mountains in places that are kept pretty secret because they don't want a lot of people going in and looking at it. But I think it's just such a miracle, and that became the white tree illusion, which
How
set
great,
the
how
groundwork for the
perfect.
book. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now, where can we get these books?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
All right.
and I would hope they'd be in the local library, but I learned this morning they're not.
Well, we'll take care of that.
I think so.
I think you'll take care of that.
think I'm
I
gonna
think
be-
you may have already taken care of
No,
that.
no, I had an important appointment this morning
did?
with someone
Oh.
named Lissa Kreisler.
That's great. What I really want to talk about now, because I love to hear you talk about your pet project now, and I don't even, pet project's not the right word for it, but you have this wonderful website about women, young women, older women, all kinds of women.
This is a crazy story. It's not my website. I didn't start it.
I've always given you the credit.
That's sweet of you. But you know how it is. I won't take credit for anything I didn't do.
I know.
The name of it is Look What She Did, and it started as the brainchild of a friend named Julie Bear, and Michael and I have both gone on the board of this nonprofit. Julie went to call for jury duty one day in LA, and she was at the courthouse and looked at a cornerstone of the building, and it was inscribed with the name of a woman. And Julie thought, who is this woman who gets to be a cornerstone in the LA County courthouse, and I don't even know who she is? Well, Julie is a writer, she's a playwright, she's a very successful television writer, producer, director, and she went back, did her homework, and found out that this woman had actually founded the criminal defender system. And that just
Triggered.
started her off and running and thinking, how many more women are there who have done amazing things and never been given credit, never gotten the recognition? So, if you go to Look What She Did, and I advise everybody to go there,
It's a great website.
it's a compendium of stories, well over 50 by now, and another probably 30 in some stage of editing. It's a compendium of abbreviated stories of extraordinary women who have changed so many aspects of life and have gone unsung.
Some local, because I know you've done some of the interviews.
I we had a filming at our house, and I actually went on camera about my friend who's the Holocaust survivor, and she lives in Santa Cruz. We had a couple other people come in and talk about a microbiologist who's been recognized by the Queen of England. We had another one come in and talk about a group of women who have come into the Global Women's Leadership Program at University of Santa Clara. And so there's a lot of diversity, there's a lot of variety of what our women who are featured in this site have done. And there are plans to do shoots in other locations.
And it's just like a camera, somebody's own camera, right? I mean, it's not this fancy filming.
It's actually very high video production attributes. Remember that this is a person who works in the industry in LA, so Julie Bear is her name, and she has a terrific eye, a terrific sense of editing, and she brings in crews that are professionals.
Has one been done on you?
No.
Why not?
You're doing it right now.
Yes, that's right. Okay, we'll add it. We'll add it too. But it's a great website, and being the mother of two daughters like you, being involved in presentation in all-girls high school, I encourage everybody with a woman in their life to look at this website.
And who doesn't have a woman in their life
Everybody.
somewhere?
That's right. Everybody. Everybody.
Yep.
So I remember, well, my husband's been gone 11 years. Your husband's been gone, your first husband,
Let's see.
not as many years as mine.
No, he passed in 2007.
And we were at the Capitol Club one
Actually,
night.
about a year difference.
Yeah,
between
is that
us.
all? We were at the
Yeah.
Capitol Club just a few years ago. Well, maybe 8, 9 years ago. And you said to me, you know, what do you do? I mean, should we start dating again? And you and I, we kind of just laughed and joked about it. I said, yeah, you know, you can't be alone forever. And thus came your love story. Not that I'm taking credit for it by any means, but you've got to share your love story because it's just a fabulous story.
Well, yeah, it is kind of fabulous. Michael and I think, first met in 2004. And he's Michael Miller, the very well-known arts leader, arguably the area's great expert on theater.
Well, he was with Children's Musical Theater for so long.
He was with Children's Musical Theater, San Jose Jazz, AMTSJ. We met in 2004 over a sort of early version of the Creative Center for the Arts, which is now coming to fruition. And, you know, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you, nice to know who you are, put a name to a face, and that was the end of it. Then in 2006, Doug became ill and passed very quickly of a form of cancer that I absolutely despise called pancreatic cancer.
One of the worst.
And, you know, I went about my 5 years of change and my life and all the things that you do as you put your life together in some new fashion.
I was 5 years too. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So 5 years is it's a good time.
And I actually went back to school, got an MFA, and came out. And having worked really, really hard on that, it was sort of like my eyes were ready to see something that I hadn't seen before, I guess. I don't know how that happens, but it did. Michael and I had reconnected because I was on the board of San Jose Jazz and he was brought in as the executive director. And we worked together in that capacity. And I was also chair of the board of Children's Musical Theater, and they recruited him from San Jose Jazz. I had to recuse myself from all of the discussions because being on both boards, so I kind of told everybody on the committees, okay, this is happening, and I'm not involved, and I want to hear about it, but I want to hear about it when you guys have done whatever you're going to do. Made it very clear. I got called in, and CMT said, we want to hire Michael Miller. And what do you think? And
You were still not romantic yet.
no. And his wife had passed in 2011.
And he'd
so
also been married for a very long
He was
time.
married 25 years
Okay, very long. Like
approximately, give or take, too. And, you know, the thing that we both had was very happy marriages. And so I got called in, told that they wanted to hire him. And what did I think? I think there couldn't be anybody who could be more qualified for the position. That's what I thought, and I said so. So he became chair of the board, executive director, and I was chair of the board, and we again worked together, and that was in 2012. And along about the end of that year, something happened where we just started looking differently at each other. And he had invited me out to some movies, which I said no. And suddenly we had a dinner to celebrate. It wasn't just Michael and me, it was Kevin Hauge, the artistic director, and my vice chair. And, you know, we had a group of people, and there was something different there. So that's kind of the beginning of the story, and it's been, we got married in 2014. It's been a wonderful, wonderful revelation to both of us that
Wonderful.
love could be real and intensely honorable, and
You do get a second chance.
you do get a second chance.
You do got a, yes. I got the goosebumps. I love love stories, and I love to see happiness. And like I said, your life mirrors mine a little bit, although I have not remarried or anything. But and it takes 5 years. I really do think it takes 5 years to get to that point. Well, my girls said, "Mom, we're really tired of you being with us all the time. Could you find somebody?"
Well, daughters are important, and Michael came into my home to meet the girls. I had him come to a Christmas party, and I figured if they didn't like him, there would be plenty of distraction. So that worked out really well. It was a thoughtful thing on my part because the older one was ready to drop kick anybody who I was seriously showing signs of interest in, and the younger one was the opposite. She wanted me to find someone. So I didn't know what was going to happen. And at that Christmas party, they each pulled me aside separately and said, "Mom, he's pretty cool." And that's how it's been since then. There has been no looking back. There's been no, they loved their dad.
Of course they
did. But they actually loved Michael.
Well, he walked your daughter down the aisle, correct, at her wedding.
So that was an interesting thing. We had big debates from her about who would walk her down the aisle. And her younger sister said, "I think you're being ridiculous. Mom's walking me down the aisle."
That's what I did.
Well, for whatever reason, Ashley didn't ask me to walk her down the aisle, and I don't care. I think that she's entitled to have whoever she wants. The problem was she wanted her dad, and he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So she started at the top of this regal, natural staircase in this beautiful wooded place. And her godfather, her Italian godfather, walked her halfway down, and then Michael stepped out and took her other arm.
I'll never forget when I walked both my girls down the aisle, and my oldest daughter, when I walked her down, she got married first, and I met her halfway. She got married at the Mission in Carmel, but before time, I was trying to be mother too. I was trying to greet all the guests, and I remember she was in the back room, and she said, "Mom, you're dad today. You stay with me." But we got to end on a love story. I love that. Many years of happiness to you and Michael. Thank you so much for sharing everything. And I think we have had your life out there. And everybody, I think, in Los Gatos knows you anyway. But they probably didn't know everything. They didn't know everything.
Probably still don't.
Well, we'll get to that next time.
All right.
Community storytelling. Everyone has a story. What is yours? You have a story like Mary just shared. You can go online. You can nominate your bestie at KCAT.org, and we'll have you sitting where Mary is. And I love having you with us. I love being on KCAT TV 15. Thank you for joining us today.